Second, your confidence skyrockets. Not fake confidence that depends on others' validation, but real confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't up for debate. You stop second-guessing yourself because you stop caring if others agree with your choices. Third, opportunities start coming to you instead of you chasing them. People start seeking your opinion because they know you'll give them the truth, not what they want to hear. They start offering you better positions because they know you won't just accept whatever they give you. Fourth, your stress levels drop through the floor when you stop trying to manage everyone else's emotions and opinions. Life becomes so much simpler. You can focus on what actually matters instead of constantly worrying about who you might have upset. But the most important change, you become psychologically free. Free from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval and avoiding disapproval. Free from the need to be someone different for everyone you meet. Free to be authentically yourself without apology or explanation. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Your worth doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from what you think of yourself and how you choose to show up in the world. This transformation isn't instant, and it's not always comfortable. You'll be tempted to slip back into old patterns when things get difficult. You'll second-guess yourself when people react negatively to your new boundaries. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh when you enforce consequences. But stick with it, because on the other side of this discomfort is a version of yourself that you've probably never met. Someone who commands respect without demanding it, who attracts genuine relationships without chasing them, who has real power without abusing it. The world is full of people desperately trying to be liked, but it's desperately short of people who command genuine respect. Which one do you choose to be? If you've made it this far, you're already different from most people. Most people can't handle uncomfortable truths about themselves in their relationships. Most people would rather stay comfortable and powerless than face the reality of how they've been giving their power away. But you're still here, which means you're ready to make the change from someone who gets walked on to someone who gets respected, from someone who begs for approval to someone who doesn't need it, from someone who gives their power away to someone who keeps it. Remember, this isn't about becoming cold or cruel. It's about becoming strong. It's about understanding your worth and refusing to accept anything less than respect. It's about breaking free from the approval addiction that's been controlling your life and stepping into the power that's been waiting for you all along. The principles we've covered today, speaking less and acting more, never chasing approval, staying calm under attack, remaining unpredictable, enforcing boundaries swiftly, and using scarcity strategically. These aren't just tactics, they're a way of life, a way of moving through the world that commands respect out of. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Don't be the person who waits until they've been walked on for years before they finally decide to stand up for themselves. Start today. Start now. Start with the very next interaction you have. Your future self, the one who commands respect, who has genuine relationships, who doesn't need anyone's approval to feel complete, is waiting for you to make this decision. The only question is, how long are you going to make them wait? If this video opened your eyes to how you've been giving your power away, smash that like button. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, share it with them. And if you want more content that cuts through the nonsense and gives you real tools for personal power, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. The journey from people pleaser to respected individual starts with a single step. You've just taken it by watching this video. Now take the next one by implementing what you've learned. Now, I want you to drop this final affirmation in the comments. Respect is my birthright. Remember, in a world full of people begging to be liked, the person who doesn't need approval holds all the cards. Be that person. Command the respect you deserve, and watch how everything in your life transforms when you finally stop giving your power away. Every single time. Rule 1, speak less, act more. Most people talk too much and do too little. They explain themselves constantly, make excuses, and overcommunicate everything. This makes them look weak and desperate for understanding. People who command respect do the opposite. They speak when they have something important to say, and they let their actions speak for them. They don't explain their decisions to people who don't deserve explanations. They don't justify their choices to people who wouldn't make better ones. When someone disrespects you, don't give them a speech about respect. Just remove yourself from their presence. When someone breaks a boundary, don't explain why boundaries matter. Just enforce the consequence. When someone questions your decision, don't defend it. Just stick to it. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox can't defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Be the fox when you need to be strategic, and be the lion when you need to show strength." Rule 2, never chase approval. This one's simple, but not easy. No matter how much you want someone to like you, never chase their approval. Don't text them repeatedly if they don't respond. Don't explain yourself when they seem upset. Don't try to win them over when they're being cold. Chasing approval broadcasts desperation, and desperation repels respect. Instead, be indifferent to their opinion of you. If they like you, great. If they don't, that's their loss. This indifference is magnetic. It makes people wonder why you don't need their approval, which makes them respect you more. Rule 3, stay cold and calm under attack. When someone tries to provoke you, insult you, or push your buttons, your reaction determines everything. If you get emotional, defensive, or angry, they win. They've proven they can control your emotions, which means they have power over you. But if you stay completely calm, if you respond to their attack with cold indifference or even slight amusement, you've just shown everyone watching that they can't touch you. You're psychologically bulletproof. And that's terrifying to people who depend on emotional manipulation. Rule 4. Stay unpredictable. Predictable people are easily controlled. When others know exactly how you'll react to every situation, they can manipulate those reactions to get what they want from you. Keep people guessing. Sometimes be generous. Sometimes be ruthless. Sometimes be social. Sometimes be distant. Sometimes help others. Sometimes put yourself first. This unpredictability keeps others off balance and forces them to respect your autonomy. Machiavelli once said, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." Don't be predictably nice and don't be predictably mean. Be strategically both. Rule 5. Enforce boundaries swiftly and silently. When someone crosses a line, the speed and clarity of your response matters more than the severity. A swift proportional consequence teaches the lesson better than a delayed harsh punishment, and silence often speaks louder than explanations. Don't warn people multiple times. Don't give second chances to the same behavior. Don't explain why their behavior was wrong. Just implement the consequence immediately and move on. This teaches everyone around you that your boundaries are real, not suggestions. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unmovable. Number 6. Scarcity and distance as power multipliers. Here's something that most people get backwards. They think being constantly available makes them valuable. They think always saying yes makes them indispensable. They think giving unlimited access to their time and attention makes them loved. They're wrong on every count. Scarcity creates value. Always has, always will. When something is rare, people want it more. When something is common, people take it for granted. This applies to money, objects, opportunities, and most importantly, you. When you're always available, you become background noise in people's lives. They know you'll always be there, so they stop appreciating your presence. They know you'll always say yes, so they stop valuing your cooperation. They know you'll always forgive them, so they stop worrying about hurting you. But when your time becomes scarce, when your attention becomes limited, when your forgiveness becomes conditional, suddenly people start treating these things like the precious resources they actually are. Think about the people who have the most social power in any group. Are they the ones who show up to everything and agree with everyone? Never. They're the ones who show up when they want to, leave when they're ready, and say no without explanation. Their selective presence makes their actual presence more valuable. This is the power of strategic distance. Not being cold or cruel, but being selective about where you invest your energy. Not being mean to people, but not being endlessly available to them either. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are. The less people see of you, the more they wonder about you, and curiosity is magnetic. How this plays out practically: instead of being the person who responds to every text immediately, become the person who responds when it's convenient for you. Instead of being available for every hangout, become selective about which invitations you accept. Instead of helping everyone who asks, help people who deserve it. This isn't about being rude or selfish. It's about understanding that your time and energy are finite resources and treating them accordingly. When you give these resources away freely to everyone, they become worthless. When you give them selectively to people who appreciate them, they become priceless. The beautiful thing about scarcity is that it's self-reinforcing. The less available you become, the more people want your attention. The more they want your attention, the better they treat you to get it. The better they treat you, the more selective you can afford to be. It's an upward spiral of respect and influence. But you have to be willing to lose some people in this process. The people who only valued you because you were easy to access will disappear when you become selective. Good. These weren't real relationships anyway. They were just people taking advantage of your availability. The people who stick around, the ones who respect your boundaries and appreciate your selective presence. These are the relationships worth having. They're based on mutual respect instead of your desperation to please. Distance also gives you perspective. When you're not constantly trying to manage everyone else's emotions and opinions, you can actually think clearly about what you want. When you're not always reacting to other people's demands, you can be proactive about your own goals. This is why the most powerful people often seem slightly detached. It's not that they don't care, it's that they don't care too much. They understand that emotional distance is necessary for clear thinking and good decision-making. So what happens when you actually implement these principles? When you stop chasing approval and start commanding respect, when you replace your addiction to being liked with the power of being respected, everything changes. And I mean everything. First, your relationships improve dramatically. Not all of them. Some people will hate the new you because they can't manipulate you anymore. But the relationships that survive become deeper and more genuine. People start relating to the real you instead of the people-pleasing mask you used to wear. Number 3. The psychology of control. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. Every single interaction you have is about control. Who's in control of the conversation? Who's in control of the relationship? Who's in control of the outcome? And here's the kicker. If you don't know who's in control, it's not you. Approval seekers hand over control without even realizing it. Every time you modify your behavior to get someone's approval, you're giving them control over your actions. Every time you bite your tongue to avoid conflict, you're giving them control over your voice. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're giving them control over your choices. But people who don't need approval, they keep control. They speak their mind regardless of how others react. They make decisions based on what they want, not what others expect. They set the terms of every interaction instead of accepting whatever terms others offer. This is why approval addiction is so dangerous. It's not just about feeling good or bad. It's about who gets to decide what happens in your life. And when you need other people's approval to feel okay about yourself, you've basically handed them the remote control to your emotions. Think about it like this. When you desperately need someone to like you, you'll do almost anything to keep them happy. You'll change your opinions, hide parts of yourself, and compromise your values. You become whatever they want you to be. That's not a relationship. That's slavery with extra steps. But when you don't need their approval, when you're perfectly fine with them disliking you, if that's what it takes to stay true to yourself, now you have all the power because they can't use your need against you. This is the secret that confident people understand. They're not confident because nothing bothers them. They're confident because they don't let other people's opinions control their self. They've made themselves psychologically untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The moment you stop performing for others' approval, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. What happens when you break free from the approval trap? First, people don't know how to manipulate you anymore. They can't push your buttons because you've disconnected the buttons from your actions. They can't guilt you, shame you, or pressure you because those tactics only work on people who need validation. Second, your decision becomes crystal clear. Instead of asking what will make others happy, you start asking what's best for me. Instead of trying to please everyone, you focus on pleasing the one person whose opinion actually matters, yourself. Third, your relationships improve dramatically. Not all of them. Some people will hate that they can't control you anymore, and they'll disappear from your life. Good. The relationships that survive are the real ones based on mutual respect instead of your desperation for approval. This is the psychology shift that changes everything. From "I hope they like me too, I don't care if they like me." From "what do they think?" to "what do I think?" From "I need their approval" to "they need to earn my respect." Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my worth. Number 4. The addiction to approval. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. Your need for approval isn't just a personality trait. It's an addiction. And, like any addiction, it's being used against you by people who understand exactly how it works. Here's how approval addiction works. Someone gives you a compliment, likes your post, or tells you you're great. Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that's released when people use drugs. You feel good, really good. And just like any drug, once that high wears off, you need another hit. But here's where it gets sinister. The people around you figure out this pattern real quick. They learn that a little bit of approval can get you to do almost anything. Need you to work late? A little praise about your work ethic. Need you to lend them money? A compliment about how generous you are? Need you to ignore their bad behavior? Some sweet talk about how understanding you are. They're literally using your brain chemistry against you. And the worst part? You're helping them do it by being so desperate for their validation that you'll take whatever scraps they throw your way. This is why approval addiction is so dangerous. It makes you easy to control. People know exactly which buttons to push to get you to do what they want. They don't have to force you or threaten you. They just have to give you a tiny bit of the validation you're craving, and you'll bend over backwards for them. But people who don't need approval, they're impossible to manipulate this way. You can't control someone with compliments if they don't need compliments. You can't manipulate someone with acceptance if they don't need acceptance. You can't use their emotions against them if their emotions don't depend on your opinion. The brutal truth about validation: it's cheap to give and expensive to receive. Anyone can tell you you're wonderful. It costs them nothing. But for you to feel good about yourself, you need to hear it over and over again from more and more people. You become dependent on something that others control completely. Machiavelli once said, "He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation." When you focus on what others think you should be instead of what you actually are, you destroy your own power. Think about how this plays out in real life. The approval addict changes their personality depending on who they're with. They have different opinions in different groups. They hide parts of themselves that might not be popular. They become a collection of masks instead of a real person. Meanwhile, people who don't need approval stay consistent. They're the same person in every room. They express their real opinions regardless of how others react. They don't hide their authentic selves because they're not afraid of disapproval. And ironically, this authenticity makes them more respected and more genuinely liked than any people pleaser ever will be. But breaking approval addiction isn't easy. Your brain will fight you every step of the way. It will tell you that without others' approval, you'll be alone and rejected. It will make you feel guilty for not caring what others think. It will try to pull you back into the pattern of seeking validation. This is where discipline comes in. You have to consciously choose to stop seeking approval, even when every fiber of your being wants to chase it. You have to be willing to be disliked, misunderstood, and criticized. You have to value your own opinion more than the opinions of everyone else combined. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My validation comes from within. Number 5. Machiavellian rules to command respect. Now we get to the practical stuff. The rules that will transform you from someone who gets walked on to someone who commands respect without saying a word. These aren't just theories. These are tested principles that work. Ever wonder why some people always earn respect effortlessly? They're never interrupted. Their time is never wasted. So, what makes them different? And what do they have that you don't? I'm about to tell you something that's going to make you angry. The reason they get respect isn't because they're smarter, richer, or more successful than you. It's because they know one psychological trick that you've never been taught. A trick so simple yet so powerful that once you understand it, your entire life will change. Someone cuts in front of you in line and you say nothing. A friend cancels plans last minute for the 3rd time, and you just smile. Someone takes credit for your idea, and you let it slide. You know what you're really doing? You're training people to walk all over you. But here's the part that's going to shock you. The people who never deal with this, they're not avoiding it by accident. They're using a dark secret about human psychology that Machiavelli discovered 500 years ago. A secret that separates people who command respect from people who beg for approval. What if I told you that being liked is actually making you weak? That every time you try to please everyone, you're giving away your power? That the harder you chase approval, the less people actually respect you? This isn't feel-good advice. This is raw psychology that works every single time. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some people naturally command rooms while others disappear in them, why some people get listened to while others get ignored, and most importantly, how to become the person who never gets disrespected again. Are you ready to stop being everyone's backup plan and start being their first choice? Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Respect over approval. Number 1. The hidden weakness of being liked. Every single person who's walked all over you, dismissed you, or treated you like you don't matter, they all have one thing in common. They knew you needed their approval more than they needed yours. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly respected a person who was desperate to be liked? Never. Because desperation has a smell and everyone can sense it from a mile away. What happens when you make being liked your priority? You become predictable. People know exactly how you'll react. They know you'll smile even when they insult you. They know you'll agree even when they're wrong. They know you'll show up even when they don't respect your time. And once you're predictable, you become disposable. The harder you try to be liked, the less people actually like you. It's backwards, I know, but think about the people you truly respect. Are they the ones constantly seeking your approval, or are they the ones who seem completely fine without it? The truth is, people are drawn to those who don't need them. It's human psychology 101. We want what we can't have, and we dismiss what comes too easy. When you chase approval, you're literally making yourself less valuable in everyone's eyes. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." He wasn't talking about being a tyrant. He was talking about the psychology of respect. Fear here doesn't mean terror. It means consequences. When people know there's a cost to crossing you, they treat you differently. Look at the people who command real respect in your life. Your toughest teacher, your strictest boss, that friend who always tells you the truth, even when it hurts. What do they all have in common? They don't need your approval to feel good about themselves. They have boundaries, and they enforce them. Meanwhile, the people pleasers, they get walked on, overlooked, and forgotten. Because when you make yourself available to everyone, you become special to no one. The people who benefit from your need to be liked, they don't actually respect you for it. Deep down, they see you as weak. They might use nice words, they might smile to your face, but behind closed doors, they know you're the person they can count on to bend over backwards for scraps of attention. This is the trap that keeps millions of people powerless. They think being nice and agreeable will earn them love and respect, but all it earns them is being taken for granted because respect isn't given, it's commanded. And you can't command anything when you're on your knees begging for approval. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose power. Number 2. The dark power of respect. Now that you understand why being liked is actually sabotaging your life, let's talk about what really works. Respect, and not the fake respect people give you when they're trying to be polite. I'm talking about the deep, instinctive respect that makes people think twice before they mess with you. Respect is built on one simple principle: consequence. When people know that crossing you will cost them something, they don't cross you. It's that simple. But when people know they can walk all over you without any pushback, guess what happens? They walk all over you. This is where most people get it wrong. They think respect comes from being impressive, successful, or talented. But that's not respect. That's admiration. Respect comes from knowing you won't tolerate disrespect. It comes from boundaries that actually mean something. Let me break this down for you. When someone disrespects you and you do nothing, you're teaching them that disrespecting you is free. You're literally training them to treat you badly. But when someone disrespects you, and there's an immediate consequence, they lose access to you. They lose your help. They lose your presence. They learn real quick not to do it again. This is why the nicest people often get treated the worst. They've trained everyone around them that bad behavior has no consequences. They've made themselves safe to disrespect. And once you're safe to disrespect, respect becomes impossible. But what happens when you flip the script? When you make it clear that your time, attention, and energy have value. When you show people that disrespecting you comes with a cost, everything changes. Suddenly people start watching their words around you. They start thinking before they act. They start treating you like someone who matters. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." People will treat you exactly how you allow them to treat you. No better, no worse. The dark power of respect is that it's self-reinforcing. The more you demand it, the more you get it. The more you get it, the easier it becomes to demand it. It's an upward spiral that transforms how everyone sees you. But here's the key difference between demanding respect and demanding to be liked. When you demand to be liked, you're putting other people in control. They decide whether to give you what you want. But when you demand respect, you're in control. Because respect isn't something they give you. It's something you take by refusing to accept anything less. Think about the most respected people you know. Do they beg for respect? Do they explain why they deserve it? Do they compromise their standards to make others comfortable? Never. They simply refuse to accept disrespect, and that refusal becomes their power. This is what separates the powerful from the powerless. The powerful understand that respect is non-negotiable. The powerless think respect is something you earn by being extra nice and extra giving. But you can't earn respect by giving your power away. You earn respect by keeping it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My worth isn't debatable.